Ah, bene, evviva. Grazie. Vi prego di prendere posto, per favore, che iniziamo il dibattito. Please. Hay el señor antes y después usted. Please. Ahora el señor, por favor. Mr. Gates.
Gracias, señor presidente. Le pediría que se retire una bandera golpista contra un Estado miembro de la Unión Europea, que es España, que están enarbolando esas personas. Gracias, señor presidente. Signor Presidente,
Bene, avete mostrato le bandiere, adesso vi prego di rimettere al loro posto. Cerchiamo di fare un dibattito serio. Onorevole, prego.
Yes, Mr President, just under Rule 162, on Monday in this House I proposed, as did other representatives of political groups, that we should have a debate on the situation in Catalonia. This is a complex situation. It requires a proper debate, and I believe that the suspension of blue cards and catch the eye for this debate mean that this matter cannot truly be debated. I'd just like to put on record my protest that this debate is now containing the bare minimum in the way of debate, and if these events had happened anywhere else in the world, if this had been something that had happened in the USA or Russia, we'd be holding a major debate on this now, but yet with something that's actually happening in a member state of the European Union, it seems that we are doing the absolute bare minimum. So I just want to put that comment on record, please, Mr President.
Il dibattito è adeguato, credo che si debba portare rispetto alla Commissione europea e ai presidenti dei gruppi che interverranno. Tutti i gruppi avranno la possibilità di parlare, quindi tutte le posizioni di tutto il Parlamento verranno espresse. Passiamo, l'ordine del giorno reca. Per favore.
Monsieur le Président, une petite remarque pour plus de précision dans nos débats, parce que la confusion est à l'ordre du jour. Je demanderai à mes collègues, quand ils parlent de ce problème, qui est un problème espagnol, de parler de la Catalogne espagnole et pas de la Catalogne, parce qu'il existe heureusement une Catalogne française très démocratique qui n'a rien à voir avec tout ça. Donc soyons précis dans nos allocutions.
Bene, grazie per la precisazione. Bene, l'ordine del giorno reca Commission Statement, Constitution, Rule of Law. Si era seduto, onorevole, prego.
Thank you, Mr President. With respect to the previous interjection, this isn't a Spanish Catalonian problem. This is a problem of human rights and decency and democratic process and democratic rights. It is a matter not just for the European Union, but an international matter.
Commission Statement, Constitution, Rule of Law and Fundamental Rights in Spain in the light of the events in Catalonia. Il primo intervento è quello del primo vicepresidente della Commissione europea, Frans Timmermans. Ha la parola.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Today's debate is carefully worded as being about the Constitution, the rule of law and fundamental rights in Spain in the light in the light of the events in Catalonia. In Europe, after the Second World War, then after the end of dictatorships in Spain, Portugal and Greece, and again after the fall of the Berlin Wall, we have shaped our democratic societies based on three principles: democracy, respect for the rule of law, and human rights. The three need each other. They cannot exclude each other. You cannot use one against the other. If you remove one pillar, then the others will fall too. Respect for the rule of law is not optional, it is fundamental. If the law does not give you what you want, you can oppose the law, you can work to change the law, but you cannot ignore the law. So it is fundamental that the constitutions of every one of our member states are upheld and respected. So this is the basis for our debate today. In that debate, we should be guided by the values set out in Article 2 of the Treaty, values which are common to member states and citizens and on which our union is founded. As Jean-Claude Juncker said in his State of the Union address to this very House last month, our union is not a state, but it is a community of law. We must never lose sight of this. There is general consensus that the regional government of Catalunya has chosen to ignore the law when organising the referendum held last Sunday. The Spanish Constitutional Tribunal having suspended the Catalan laws on the organisation of the referendum and issued daily penalties against those who went against its orders. That does not change the fact that we have all seen saddening images from Sunday. Let me be clear. Violence does not solve anything in politics. It is never an answer, never a solution, and it can never be used as a weapon or instrument. Europe knows this better than anywhere else. None of us want to see violence in our societies. However, it is of course a duty for any government to uphold the rule of law, and this sometimes does require the proportionate use of force. We understand that people wanted to express their views. Freedom of expression is a fundamental right for all European citizens, and thus for all Spanish citizens. But one opinion is not more valuable than another opinion only because it is expressed more loudly. As the Commission has stated, under the Spanish Constitution, Sunday's vote in Catalonia was not legal. Looking ahead, it is clear that an agreed way forward is needed in Spain. For the European Commission, as President Juncker has reiterated repeatedly, this is an internal matter for Spain that has to be dealt with in line with the constitutional order of Spain. That is why the European Commission has called on all relevant actors to now move quickly from confrontation to dialogue. The power of dialogue, of sitting down and talking to each other, even if and especially when we passionately disagree, is what our union is built on. All lines of communication must stay open. It's time to talk, to find a way out of the impasse, working within the constitutional order of Spain. At the end of the day, the real answers can only come from all those concerned. Those directly concerned are all 46 million Europeans who are Spanish citizens. Those indirectly concerned are all Europeans who are citizens of all other member states. Jean-Claude Juncker is in touch with Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy, who I trust will ensure that the situation is resolved in a spirit of dialogue and in full respect of the Spanish Constitution and of the fundamental rights of citizens. This must be the goal for all of us. Allow me to stress that the development of Spain since the Spanish people liberated themselves from dictatorship is one of the greatest success stories Europe has seen in its history. In less than my lifetime, Spain was transformed from a nation under the boot of a dictator into a nation that leads globally in a great many areas, where every citizen has full rights protected by the rule of law, where culture flourishes and the economy grows. This is the awe-inspiring achievement of all Spaniards, including Catalans. This would not have been possible. This would not have been possible without full respect for the rule of law, respect for the separation of powers, respect for the rulings of judges. And let me add, nowhere is the attachment to the rule of law stronger than in those nations who have memories of what it means to be deprived of it. All this was achieved through hard work, commitment, dialogue, and respect for diversity. Please let this inspire all of us to leave the path of confrontation and follow the road of cooperation and dialogue to solve the situation. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
La parola a nome del gruppo del Partito Popolare Europeo all'onorevole Manfred Weber.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, dear colleagues, nobody can remain indifferent to what we have seen in Catalonia over the last days. We are very sorry for all those who were hurt. The news arriving from Catalonia are extremely worrisome. Citizens were hurt, but also were policemen who were sent to stop the referendum, not by the Spanish government, they were sent by Catalan judges to defend the rule of law. The EPP rejects force as a political solution. European history is teaching us that violence is never an answer. What is at stake today is the integrity of an EU member state, and this justifies the debate we are having today. A colleague of the EPP group yesterday, he is from Catalonia, told us, "I'm Catalan and I'm Spanish. It is not a conflict between Catalonia and Spain," he said, "it is a conflict within Catalonia. A government without a majority of votes in the last elections is using all means for this escalation. And we as EPP, we cannot accept such a behaviour. Europe is built upon the rule of law, and Spain is built upon the rule of law. And there is no doubt Spain is a country that guarantees the fundamental rights for all the citizens. We stand by the freedom of demonstrations. For a living democracy, freedom of demonstrations is not only indispensable, it is also desired. Nevertheless, demonstrations cannot replace a democratic decision-making process in a society. Not the protests on the streets, but the institutions in a democracy in Spain will decide on the future of the country. And let me be very clear. Mass demonstrations in Barcelona will not change the constitution of Spain. Only democratic institutions can do so. For the moment, everybody is focusing on the separatists. But who is taking the perspective of the rest of the country into account? Spaniards from Catalonia, Aragon, Castilla were living together in one country over centuries, peacefully. And now an irresponsible government in Catalonia is splitting the country. The Spanish legal situation is clear for us. In Spain, no person in charge not even the Catalan regional government is allowed to disregard the law. The rights of all Spanish citizens have to be respected. It is unacceptable that a few Catalan politicians encourage civil servants, officials and citizens to break the law. From our point of view, the referendum is not valid. The legal base was not adopted in line with the Constitution of Catalonia. It is against the Spanish Constitution, and last Sunday the Catalan authorities were changing the electoral law 45 minutes before the so-called referendum started. This is not a credible behaviour. But another point, dear friends, is also clear. We need an inner Spanish dialogue on the basis of the Spanish law. We appeal to everybody. Please sit all together. Instead of further escalations, we call upon all the actors involved to engage in dialogue in Spain, but first and foremost in Catalonia itself. A peaceful dialogue in Spain is necessary. We won't find a solution to this Spanish internal conflict here in the European Parliament. This conflict can only be solved by the Spanish people itself. The EU has neither the will nor the right to intervene in a true liberal democracy such as Spain. And please, the dialogue has to be frank. The times in Europe in which division trumped compromise, hatred won over cooperation and egoism beat solidarity have long gone. As Bavarian, I know nation states are compatible with proud regions. Europe needs both strong nation states and regional diversity. And for today, we appeal to the Catalan authorities, do not take irreversible steps. And please keep in mind, who leaves Spain leaves the European Union. This means leaving the internal market, this means leaving the Schengen area, and it means leaving the Eurozone. Is this really the Catalans' best interest? Europe is living in historical times, dear friend. This morning, we asked for more European cooperation in our debate. The European way of life does not need division, but unity in diversity. The European way of life needs not more nationalism, but more cooperation. And the European way of life needs not more egoism, but solidarity and the willingness to compromise. Dear friends, we are sorry for all people hurt. We stand behind Spain's integrity. We support the Spanish government and the politicians who respect the rule of law, and we ask everybody for a constructive, peaceful dialogue in a European spirit. Thanks so much.
Per il gruppo dei socialisti e democratici ha la parola l'onorevole Gianni Pittella.
Grazie Presidente. Colleghe e colleghi, io penso che questa sia l'ora della unità e della responsabilità, non delle divisioni, non delle bandiere, non del tifo, della prudenza e della saggezza. Dimentichiamo per un attimo le nostre appartenenze. Dobbiamo pronunciare una parola sola, parad, fermatevi. A volte basta un gesto per cambiare il corso della storia. E quando si è sull'orlo del baratro, basta poco per cadere nel baratro, ma basta anche poco un gesto di raziocinio e di buona volontà perché il dialogo riparta come ha chiesto il primo vicepresidente Frans Timmermans. Mi rivolgo innanzitutto al governo della Generalitat catalana e lo dico esplicitamente, una dichiarazione unilaterale di indipendenza sarebbe una ulteriore provocazione e getterebbe benzina sul fuoco dopo l'inutile referendum di domenica. Un plebiscito unilaterale imposto in aperta violazione della Costituzione democratica e dello Stato di diritto. Un governo regionale che rappresenta meno del 50% non può pregiudicare il futuro di un popolo intero. Il referendum non era legale, lo abbiamo detto molti, e non si tratta di un'arguzia giuridica. Sfidare oggi la legalità internazionale significa contribuire a distruggere quel sistema di regole che ha assicurato la pace in Europa negli ultimi 50 anni, sorto proprio per proteggere i popoli più deboli contro l'arbitrio dei più forti. E dovremmo guardare con meno superficialità al ritorno del nazionalismo in Europa. Quando si sventola la bandiera della secessione, quando le identità tendono cioè ad escludere invece che ad includere, si sa dove si inizia, ma non si sa dove si finisce. Alcuni di voi ricorderanno la frase di François Mitterrand che pronunciò nel suo ultimo discorso al Parlamento europeo: il nazionalismo c'est la guerre, è la guerra. Io non rinuncerò mai all'idea che si possa essere allo stesso tempo catalani, spagnoli ed europei senza bisogno di creare nuovi stati, nuove frontiere. E c'è un filo indissolubile che lega Catalogna, Spagna, Spagna, Europa. L'Europa è nata per riconciliare i popoli. L'Europa è nata per portare unità e pace. In questi giorni, mentre in Spagna si discute di secessione, in Germania si celebra l'anniversario della riunificazione tedesca. La riconciliazione, questa è la ragione d'essere dell'Unione Europea. Siamo nati per questo ed è per questo che noi europei dobbiamo fare tutto il possibile perché si esca da questa impasse. Noi lo dobbiamo non soltanto perché la Spagna è parte di noi, ma perché noi siamo o dobbiamo essere i difensori dell'Europa, dell'essenza dell'Europa, del DNA dell'Europa. Voglio rivolgermi anche al primo ministro Mariano Rajoy, ma non mi interessa fare polemica. Dico con onestà intellettuale che la gestione di questa crisi poteva essere diversa. Poteva e doveva essere diversa. I socialisti spagnoli e catalani hanno offerto proposte serie, praticabili, anche contemplando la possibilità di modificare la Costituzione. Si può cambiare, ma con gli strumenti propri, non in spregio delle leggi e delle regole comuni. Si lavora così in uno Stato di diritto, rispettando le leggi. Possiamo avere opinioni diverse, ma nessun democratico può compiacersi delle cariche della polizia e degli scontri di domenica scorsa. E quando c'è un'irruzione delle forze di polizia in modo disproporzionato, c'è sempre il fallimento della politica. Ora c'è bisogno di uno sforzo di rigenerazione. Serve un nuovo inizio ed io voglio fare un appello alle autorità catalane: non pronuncino questa sera la dichiarazione dell'indipendenza, perché questa pronunzia potrebbe essere foriera di nuovi scontri e di nuovi disastri. L'appello è congiuntamente rivolto al primo ministro Rajoy affinché insieme alle altre forze politiche spagnole portino avanti con tutte le loro forze il dialogo, perché la Spagna ha bisogno della sua integrità e della sua unità. Una Spagna forte con realtà interne forti e autonome dentro una Europa ritrovata. Questa è la nostra missione.
Per il gruppo dei conservatori e dei riformisti la parola all'onorevole Legutko.
Thank you, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen. The European Commission repeatedly resorts to a moralistic language. We've just heard it, talking about the union of values. But when we view the action of the Commission in the handling of this particular situation in Catalonia, it looks more like a union of selective values. The double standards of the Commission is something that leaps to the eye. All are equal, but some are more equal than others. And everything depends on who is involved. Let us be honest, ladies and gentlemen. If it was another member state, not Spain, the consequences and the rhetoric from the Commission would have been far harsher. I want to be clear. I do not believe the EU or the European Commission, for that matter, strengthens the EU's unity through infringements proceedings, so triggering the articles of the treaties or the political point scoring and such like. It polarizes the debate, pushes member states and its voters further away from the EU. So I urge the Commission to practice the virtue of self-restraint, but consistently, not selectively. Coming to Catalonia, I do believe, which is a rather simple-minded observation, but always worth repeating, that significant progress can be made through patient negotiations. Whether and how soon the effective resolution is possible in Catalonia, I do not know, and very few people, if anyone, in this chamber know that. But I wish to be honest with our Spanish colleagues. Riot police and violent scenes have not helped but shocked. And whatever your intentions, those scenes will continue to be a part of the image of your government for some time. Let us admit it, the handling of the crisis was appalling. It was really appalling. So what are the next steps to be taken, whether it be the constitutional reform or the granting of a referendum or international mediation? That's the role of the Commission, probably, as an intermediary or a go-between. It is for the Spanish government, the Spanish society, the Catalonian people to decide themselves. But I do caution that the passions of those citizens in Catalonia seeking a new settlement is unlikely to fade away by simply drowning out or ignoring the voices of dissent. To sum it up, the action of the riot police, the conspicuous silence or the Aesopian language of the European Commission will not make the problem disappear.
A nome del gruppo liberale la parola all'onorevole Verhofstadt.
Thank you, President. I have to tell you, first of all, that I'm a big admirer of the Spanish democracy, especially since that dramatic date of the 23rd of February 1981. That was the day that Colonel Tejero attempted his coup d'etat. And Javier Cercas, in his famous book Anatomía de un Instante, describes how, under the threat of Tejero's pistol, 3 Spanish political leaders stayed upright in their seats, refusing to hide under their benches. And that were Santiago Carrillo, the historical leader of the Communist Party, Adolfo Suárez, the first Prime Minister of Democratic Spain, and his Deputy General Gutiérrez Mellado. And despite the shots, not one of them blinked. An act of courage and determination that anchored forever democracy in Spanish souls. under the pistol of putschist Tejero, dear colleagues, Spanish democracy was born, so nobody of us has to give any lesson in democracy to Spain. I think now, 36 years later, Spanish democracy has to surmount itself again. To surmount this deep division, to overcome this existential crisis. And I think it has to do so not by believing that the judiciary can solve the problems on its own, and certainly not by using deplorable violence, even when it was based on a ruling of a court. In other words, not just by relying on the power of the state. No, what we need is a renewed political vision, an inclusive dialogue, a vision that the future and the interest of all people living in Spain, lies in a multicultural, multilingual, federal state embedded in a multicultural, multilingual, federal Europe. And it's true, you cannot go against the law. And it's also true, you cannot govern without the law. But it's even more true, you cannot solve such a deep division only with the law. You need also to listen, to try to understand each other, to dialogue, to talk with another. And that is the only way to find solutions, and that's the real strength of good politicians and, I think, of statesmen. And to my friends in Catalonia, I want to say, I think it's not in the interest of your citizens to pursue separatism at all costs. That the referendum was against the Constitution is not my main point. The point is that this referendum simply lacked basic democratic legitimacy. You know very well in advance that the majority of the Catalans would not participate, would stay at home, as the majority of them are against separation. And it's not by accident you didn't even install a minimum threshold. So the result of this referendum was already known before it began. How you call this? Manipulation? Deception? Moreover, to declare independence based on the outcome of a defective referendum is, I think, totally irresponsible, and not so much for Spain, not so much for Europe, but for Catalonia itself. It will cause a fatal fracture in your society, a fracture that may be impossible to heal. And you know who is going to profit from this gamble? The anti-Europeans, who, as we know, want to destroy our union and who started already today to abuse your cause and also to violate our treaties. So, Mr. Chairman, I urge all sides to stop the escalation and to go and sit around the table. And the spirit there around that table has to be the understanding that the future of more than 70 European nations, the future of Catalonia, the future of my own Flemish community, lies not in brutal separation, but lies in deep cooperation. Cooperation inside federal structures in a federal Europe. And look a little bit, if I can ask that, look to your own Basque countrymen. Look what they have achieved, how they have developed their country, defeating terrorism and reinventing themselves proud and autonomous. And finally, Mr. President, let me say that in politics, it's not a shame to make compromises. The opposite is true. I did it all my life and I'm still alive. But moreover, when you have to make a choice between the steps forward of a compromise or the standstill due to purity, well, choose then the way forward, however small the steps may be. Because in the words of Barbara Tuchman in her famous book, with a title that is applicable today, The March of the Folly, she said, don't throw away the greater for the less, and don't pursue the unworkable at the sacrifice of the possible. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you.
Per il gruppo GUE la parola all'onorevole De Yarrick.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le Vice-président, chers collègues. Si dans n'importe quelle contrée lointaine on avait ce premier dimanche d'octobre empêché par la force les citoyens de s'exprimer dans les urnes, fait charger la police, violenté, blessé plus de 900 personnes, tous les dirigeants européens auraient protesté contre le chef du gouvernement responsable de tels actes, demandé de mettre ce pays au ban des nations et, que sais-je encore, peut-être demandé un blocus économique. Or, ceci s'est bien passé dimanche, en Espagne, de la part d'un gouvernement aussi froid que faible, assis autour de la table du Conseil européen, et les autorités européennes font semblant de regarder ailleurs, laissant une nation de l'Union européenne se déchirer. Nous vous demandons, Monsieur Timmermans, de condamner clairement, sans délai, la violence et la répression en Catalogne, de condamner la violation de la Charte des droits fondamentaux. Cette crise ne nous est pas étrangère, car on ne peut accepter les politiques de la force dans l'Union européenne, pas plus que nous pouvons accepter les proclamations unilatérales du gouvernement de Catalogne. Nous devons demander au gouvernement espagnol de cesser son escalade dans la tension et dans l'utilisation de la répression et de la force policière et militaire, et nous devons demander au gouvernement espagnol comme au président du gouvernement de Catalogne de cesser cette logique de confrontation qui peut mener au pire. Les premières victimes ne seront pas ces dirigeants, mais les citoyens, le peuple. Sans ingérence, l'Union européenne doit se proposer comme un facilitateur d'un dialogue visant une sortie pacifique et démocratique de cette crise en tenant compte à la fois du respect du droit international, du pacte fondateur de la Constitution espagnole de 1978, de l'histoire de la Catalogne et de l'Espagne, du respect du pacte des droits civils et politiques de 1966 ratifié par l'Espagne, dont l'article 1 dispose, je cite, que tous les peuples ont le droit à l'autodétermination. Le dialogue doit donc reprendre et nous devons y aider. Aidons à la recherche d'un compromis qui passe sans doute par une définition commune du statut du référendum de dimanche dernier. Oui, il est illégal, oui, il n'a pas de légitimité démocratique, mais on ne peut pas ignorer l'aspiration à s'exprimer, l'aspiration démocratique des Catalans. En même temps, les institutions régionales doivent être respectées, ainsi que le statut d'autonomie de la Catalogne. À partir de là doit s'ouvrir une période de dialogue, de débat approfondi en Catalogne, dans toute l'Espagne, la tenue de la conférence constitutionnelle, à l'issue desquelles le peuple doit pouvoir se prononcer. De façon plus générale, cette crise repose les questions de la sortie des politiques d'austérité imposées par la Commission européenne, du combat contre les inégalités territoriales et d'une juste répartition des richesses au sein de l'Union européenne et de chaque pays. Elle interroge aussi notre conception de l'Union européenne. Soit la coopération et la solidarité avec une refondation portant un projet de communauté européenne de nations libres et souveraines, soit une Europe fédérale des régions en concurrence entre elles sous domination encore plus grande des puissances industrielles et financières. Notre choix doit être la coopération, la solidarité et l'union des peuples libres et souverains. Le dernier mot doit revenir à la démocratie. Merci.
Per il gruppo dei Verdi la parola all'onorevole Ska Keller.
Thank you. Past Sunday will be remembered as a sad day, and I think not just in Spain, but all over Europe. We saw peaceful citizens confronted with a huge police force, ready to use all the force they had. Families, pensioners, really people of all backgrounds who were confronted with a state that was willing to use almost all means to stop the referendum from taking place. The world was watching while this was happening, while the riot police met people with brutality, charging with batons and even firing rubber bullets. Polling stations and hotels, schools and city halls and streets were turned into front lines between national police and its own citizens. And what happened in Spain is unacceptable. I think it will unfortunately also set the image that we all have of the situation for the future. And this was massive police violence against peaceful people, and that was beyond any proportionality. And violence so disproportionate cannot be justified. No buts and no excuses. Whatever you think about the referendum, whatever you think of independence, I think that has to be clear, that violence is not a mean for solving political conflicts. And whatever I think also the views about referendum and everything, it's also clear that the strategy of Prime Minister Rajoy has clearly failed. He has refused a dialogue that was even offered, and he has used and reverted more to judicial means, to police means. But the judges cannot solve a political problem. Police cannot solve a political problem. Criminal prosecution cannot work that way. It is inappropriate. What we need is a political situation. But rather than doing that, Rajoy has worsened the problem. He has escalated the situation. The massive mobilization we saw yesterday, it's not just independentists who are appalled by what happened last Sunday. So I really think that Rajoy has not really been helpful in this situation. In the future, I believe the Spanish government must refrain from using police violence against peaceful people. It must aim to find a political solution, because the Catalan crisis is a political crisis, a political problem, and therefore it needs to be solved politically and not by police force. And the political solution always must mean that people talk to each other, that all sides talk to each other. And I believe the European Union here has a role to play in that, because the whole affair is not just an internal matter for Spain. Spain and Catalonia are inside the European Union. President Juncker cannot sit on the fence and just watch from Berlaymont what's happening and how the conflict escalates. The Catalan crisis is a European affair. It goes to the heart of the European Union and its fundamental values, because the European Union is built on the conscious decision to live together on this continent, settling our differences, however great they might be, through dialogue, through negotiation and through compromise rather than through violence. And it's wrong, I believe, that the Commission shies away. It's the duty, as the guardian of the treaty, to get involved and help solving this problem, to offer mediation, to offer its help. I think this is something I would really expect of the European Union. The citizens all over Europe are looking at us, are looking at what we're doing in the European Union. I think it's important that we offer our help, that we promote dialogue, that we tell both sides to stop escalations. The Commission can be an honest broker here. And colleagues and Commissioner, I think it's very important that all of us understand how grave the situation is, how easily it can and how quickly it can escalate even further. No one knows what tomorrow will bring. And I think if we have any chance at all to do something, to do our small bits, then we should do it. And I believe, Mr. Timmermans, that you have a chance to do something. And I hope that we will use it all together. The Spanish and the Catalan government, of course, also have their responsibility. They have to agree to negotiate, to sit together, to accept mediation, and to prevent further escalation. The whole crisis is a breakdown of the rules and the democratic consensus that so far ensured a peaceful and non-violent relationship between Spain and Catalonia. The right to self-determination is firmly anchored in international law. When both sides, both the Spanish government as well as the Catalan government, they have to take the responsibility to find a common solution for how to put it into place in a peaceful and in a democratic way. Further police violence and intimidation wouldn't solve the problem. Many actors have called for dialogue, also all over Catalonia, like the mayor of Barcelona, Ada Colau. Many people have called for dialogue. The colleagues here have said that this is the way forward. I think this is something we all have to agree on. The European Union is built on dialogue. We have to solve political problems by political means, and dialogue is the only way forward. Thank you.
Per il gruppo Europa della Libertà e della Democrazia Diretta, la parola all'onorevole Finch.
Mr. President, I note that breaking news says the Spanish government has now sent the army into Catalonia. This is not a good sign. We've all seen the media images regarding the attempted suppression of the independence referendum called by the Catalan government over the weekend. My first question would be why? Why did the Madrid government feel it necessary to stop this in such a heavy-handed, brutal and, in the final analysis, counterproductive manner? It's blatantly obvious that by doing so, they have handed the initiative to the Catalan nationalists. Is the Madrid government so afraid of its own people and so removed from political reality that it thought these actions would calm the situation? Given that the Madrid government has repeatedly stated, and we've heard it today, that a majority of Catalans do not want independence, and furthermore that the referendum had no validity under Spanish law, why did the government simply not state that whatever the result, the vote was null and void, and the Catalan government was merely wasting everybody's time and money? Instead of which, we now have a template which every independence movement on our continent can use to provoke unrest. Mark my words, by their actions, Mr Rajoy and his advisers have lit a bonfire under your Europe. The fact that the EU institutions and its leaders have failed to recognise the human rights abuses which have taken place and have instead focused merely on legalistic verbiage shows how shallow the foundations of this project really are. Any ruling order that can condone acts of state violence has no popular legitimacy. Those Catalans who have looked to the EU for succour will be sorely disappointed. I feel that the only way the Spanish government can restore trust is to accept that its behaviour was ill-conceived, launch an immediate independent commission of inquiry into the violence, and state that when the inquiry is concluded, a new and binding referendum under the auspices of the Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights will take place. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, this fire will burn and it will spread. Thank you.
Per il gruppo Europa delle Nazioni e della Libertà, la parola all'onorevole De Graaf.
President, in July of this year, the Commission and this Parliament threatened Poland with the withdrawal of voting rights due to legislation on the judiciary. Commission and Parliament turned against amendments on the Constitution of Hungary, which included the organisation of public broadcasters. The Commission and this Parliament are fully at ease with the condemnation of laws and constitutions of a democratic state when it doesn't obey the dictates of Brussels. They claim that the EU is a community of values. What they don't say is that laws are subordinate to it, that democratic decisions, that freedom and self-determination are subordinate to it. Freedom, democracy and human rights only apply to member states that serve the EU agenda. For Spain, national sovereignty and the primacy of the Constitution apply. For Poland and Hungary, it doesn't. This EU is indeed a community of values, of double values, of double standards? Are you in favour of the EU elitist, globalist agenda? Then you can do anything. When you're against it, they will combat you with all means. The hypocrisy of this Commission has no limits. In September last year, Mr. Juncker explicitly condemned violence against Polish workers in the United Kingdom. In Spain, 800 people have been beaten up and needed hospital treatment because hundreds of thousands were about to vote in a formally illegal referendum. In her declaration, the European Commission only stated violence can never be an instrument in politics. Certainly, violence doesn't belong in politics. And of course, the state has the monopoly to use force to protect the rule of law. The state can use proportional violence to stop unlawful behaviour or to prevent this from happening. But when hundreds of thousands illegally enter a country, would it be proportional to beat up 800 of them to the hospital? Would the response be that violence can never be an instrument of politics? Well, I'm convinced that Mr. Timmermans would explode in anger and this Parliament would demand immediate action. So let me be clear. I fully support the rule of law. That is, the rule of law of the sovereign nation state, of the free nation state, of the democratic nation state. That is the rule of law which should be defended. However, I certainly cannot accept the hypocrisy of this Commission and this Parliament, who are concealing the advancement of their own elitist economic interest as European values. I am completely against silencing opponents, against financing pro-EU propagandists and persecuting EU sceptical parties and member states. And I'm telling Mr. Timmermans and Mr. Verhofstadt, Article 2 calls for respect for human dignity and equality. Equality and respect are not a right only for Europhiles and globalists. It's a right for all citizens in the EU. Start acting accordingly.
La parola all'onorevole Wolf non iscritto.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sunday, the 1st of October, will forever be remembered in Spain and across the globe as the day that a forgotten history of Spanish state brutality on its people returned to its country. I watched with horror as a grandmother's blood washed down her tear-strewn face after a beating by the Spanish police. I watched as young people, hands held aloft in peace, were smashed by black-suited armed stormtroopers and their wild batons. The shame on Spain rests mainly on Rajoy and now also the King of Spain for not only permitting the brutality of their police, but also shamefully for blaming the violence on those violated and seeking to dismiss the abused as the originators of the abuse. And what of the European Union's response? Their first response should have been to completely condemn the violence, but no. Whilst every right-minded person was outraged, they were critically silent on the violence. They sought to deflect the issue as a matter of breaking the rule of law by Catalans. This is by the EU, who recognised the independence of Kosovo without a referendum and who recognised Palestine as a nation state, even though the EU treaties did not permit it. 25 years ago, Barcelona held the Olympics. The closing song was Amigos para siempre. It was written by a Brit, Lloyd Webber, and sang by a Catalan, José Carreras. It means friends forever. Well, I will tell the Catalan people, there are those who oppose violence by your police against you, that you have friends forever. But if the EU continues to ignore the violence against your people, you will know that they're not your friends ever. Thank you.
Per rispondere la parola al vicepresidente della Commissione Europea, Frans Timmermans.
Thank you, Mr. President. Perhaps you will allow me to reiterate once again that for the European Union as a whole to function, respect for the rule of law is important. if you believe that you can use, because you feel passionately about something, that you can then say, because I feel so passionately about something, I get to say what the rule of law is. And you can then say, I feel so passionately about something, I can ignore the rule of law. Be aware of the fact that what you think works for you now can be used against you by others who perhaps might feel as passionate about their position. The rule of law in our union is the only thing that protects the weak from the power of the powerful. The rule of law is the only thing that protects what is small from what is big. The rule of law is the only way we can create a union of member states and citizens where big does not dominate small, where there is equal treatment before the law of every single citizen wherever they come from. And I detect in some of the discourses by political movements who feel deeply inspired by populist nationalism that democracy is a tool you can use against the rule of law. That because we are a majority, the minority no longer exists. In the treaties, the rule of law is enshrined in a way that was signed by sovereign member states, ratified by national parliaments, and thus confers the protection of the law to every single European citizen. And I insist on this today because I know you had also a debate about the political side and about the violence and everything else. I refer to also what was said by Guy Verhofstadt about that. But from an institutional position of the Commission, I have to insist on this point of the rule of law. I say this also because there is no doubt, not in this chamber, even by those who are extremely critical, that the referendum held Sunday was not within the remit of the rule of law. There is also no doubt that the only way forward is dialogue. And there is also no doubt that Spain is a country where the rule of law is respected, where the institutions are independent, and where there are no impediments whatsoever for a dialogue to start immediately. The only thing you need is political will. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Ringrazio la Commissione europea, guardiana dei trattati, per la chiara posizione espressa in quest'Aula. Alla luce del dibattito che si è appena svolto e come sintesi della posizione espressa dalla maggioranza del Parlamento, voglio sottolineare alcuni elementi fondamentali. Come la storia dell'Unione europea ci insegna, in democrazia l'unica strada da percorrere è quella di lavorare insieme per la concordia e l'unità. Nessuno ha gradito gli eventi accaduti domenica, ma le decisioni unilaterali, compresa la dichiarazione di indipendenza da uno Stato membro, sono in contrasto con l'ordinamento giuridico europeo e sono destinate a provocare pericolose divisioni. Da questo Parlamento parte un appello a sostegno di una riflessione serena e profonda che favorisca il dialogo in Spagna nel rispetto del quadro costituzionale, compreso lo Statuto dell'autonomia della Catalogna, e che restituisca la politica alle istituzioni. Il processo verbale della seduta di ieri e i testi approvati sono stati distribuiti. Vi sono osservazioni? Se non ci sono osservazioni, il processo verbale è approvato.
So, Kolleginnen und Kollegen, als nächster Punkt der Tagesordnung folgt die Aussprache über ein aktuelles Thema. Das beruht auf Artikel 153a unserer Geschäftsordnung. Das Thema für heute lautet der fiskalpolitische Pakt und seine Integration in den Rechtsrahmen der Europäischen Union. Bei dieser Art von Aussprache gibt es kein Catch the Eye und auch keine blauen Karten. Wir kommen zur Rednerliste. Der erste Sprecher ist der Verfasser Marco Valli für 4 Minuten.
Grazie Presidente. Oggi parliamo del Fiscal Compact, quindi della sottrazione di sovranità e la sovranità dei popoli e della loro sottomissione attraverso il vincolo economico. Per farlo dobbiamo tornare un po' alla preistoria. 1972 si parte col serpente monetario, il primo tentativo fallito di vincolare i cambi delle valute, per poi riuscire ad attuarlo nel 1979 con lo SME. 1981 gli italiani lo ricorderanno bene, l'anno della separazione Banca d'Italia e Tesoro, ad opera di 2 federalisti nonché architetti di questa Unione Europea, Ciampi e Andreatta, che consegnarono il controllo del nostro debito pubblico al mercato finanziario. 1992 il trionfale ingresso in Maastricht con l'introduzione di vincoli numerici come quello del limite della spesa del 3% basati su nessun tipo di logica economica. Poi arriva l'euro nel 1999 voluto da Prodi, che dichiarava: lavoreremo un giorno di meno, avremo guadagnato come se avessimo lavorato un giorno di più. La verità è che ci hanno privato della leva monetaria senza dirci che ci avrebbero tolto la libertà di autodeterminarci. Ed eccoci al 2012, l'anno in cui 25 Stati membri su 28 sottoscrivono il Fiscal Compact.
Mr. Valli, exactly. Slow down, please, so everybody can understand.
Perfetto. Dicevo, eccoci al 2012, l'anno in cui 25 Stati membri su 28 sottoscrivono il Fiscal Compact, rendendo vincolanti il principio di pareggio di bilancio e il parametro del debito PIL del 60% contenuto in Maastricht. Nel 2012 i governi si sono dati appuntamento a 5 anni per discuterne. Quei 5 anni scadono tra 3 mesi e i cittadini a Natale potrebbero trovarsi sotto l'albero l'ennesima cessione di sovranità, perché il Fiscal Compact diventerà giuridicamente superiore alla legislazione nazionale, renderà irreversibili le politiche liberiste ed austerità. Il Fiscal Compact assume la trappola del debito pubblico come cornice indiscutibile dentro la quale costruire la gabbia per i diritti sociali e del lavoro e la privatizzazione dei beni comuni. Se i governi confermeranno il Fiscal Compact, il mio paese, per esempio, sarà obbligato nei prossimi 20 anni a portare il rapporto del debito PIL dall'attuale 133% al 60% attraverso un taglio sconsiderato della spesa pubblica relativa al welfare e soprattutto trattamenti medievali per le pensioni e i diritti dei lavoratori. Questo è il pareggio di bilancio previsto dal Fiscal Compact e inserito nella Costituzione italiana con un colpo di Stato avvenuto nel 2011 per mano del professor Monti. Quello che la Grecia è il più grande successo dell'euro, sostenuto dai partiti come il Partito Democratico e Forza Italia che militano qua nel Parlamento Europeo tra socialisti e popolari, che hanno vincolato per sempre la democrazia del mio paese al volere di Bruxelles. Molti di voi a telecamere accese continuano a dire di essere contrari a questi principi d'austerità, ma lo fate solo per raccattare voti. È accaduto nel passato, sta accadendo nel presente e non possiamo permettere che accada anche in futuro, con questioni vitali come quelle sancite nel report Brok-Bresso, la parlamentare del Partito Democratico del 40% di Renzi, quello della riscossa contro l'austerità e i vincoli economici. Un report vergognoso dove si celebrano il Fiscal Compact e quella che di fatto è un'istituzionalizzazione della Troika. Volete trasformare il meccanismo europeo di stabilità nel Fondo monetario europeo. Volete istituzionalizzare quel sistema perverso e di ricatto per fare in modo che gli Stati siano schiacciati dalla Troika. Volete istituzionalizzare tutto questo. Ci chiedete di mettere i nostri soldi nel meccanismo europeo di